Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 2019 edition of the Huawei European Innovation Day. My name is Greg Wood, and I'll be your host for today. It's great to see so many of you gathered here, and I'm sure we're going to have a stimulating and thoroughly enjoyable day. Now, technology can delight us in ways that we've never previously imagined. It adds to the sum of humanity, and it provides part of the solution to some of the world's most pressing challenges, including those affecting the natural environment and health. Today, we're gathered here in Paris to celebrate the positive impacts of technology on humankind in Europe. Now, I'm sure all of you are excited to hear how we can innovate and apply cutting-edge technologies to deliver progress in this region. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Mr. William Xu, Director of the Board, President of the Institute of Strategic Research at Huawei. Mr. Xu, welcome to the stage. Thank you.
Distinguished guests, good morning. Welcome to the 7th Annual Huawei European Innovation Day. Many of you may still remember that in 2016, we were at the same place, here, where we held Huawei European Innovation Day, during which we announced that we would establish our second mathematics research center in Paris. What I can share with you is that this center made great contribution to our early deployment of 5G. Huawei has been rooted in Europe for nearly 20 years. Huawei sticks to the principle of in Europe for Europe as we keep integrating into and contributing to Europe. We hope that through Huawei's innovation capability, we can create more values for the European customers and partners. Today, I would like to take this opportunity to share with you about Huawei's strategy and our upcoming measures. I understand that you are all very much concerned about Huawei's current situation. I would like to say thank you to our partners, customers, and the public for your great support and attention. I would also like to thank our 180,000 employees for your hard work. In the past 3 quarters, our sales revenue reached around $86 billion with a year-on-year increase of 24.4% with a net margin of 8.7%. The external pressures will not crush Huawei. Instead, it will make us stronger, as we will be in a better position to provide more competitive products and services for our customers and partners as a way of saying thank you to your great support. As you know, the information sector has undergone 40 years of rapid development. Yet, throughout the period, we have seen quite many bottlenecks. First is the theoretical bottleneck. With the commercialization of 5G 70 years ago, Shannon theory, which was proposed, has now reached its limit, so that the industry has seen a theoretical bottleneck. Second is the engineering bottleneck. The Moore's law's development is slowing down. Against this backdrop, Huawei is also entering the uncharted territory in the communications sector. How can we make breakthroughs? There are great challenges ahead of us. Many people will ask that, what is the reason behind Huawei's rapid development? How can Huawei be able to become a leader in this industry in the past 30 years? The answer is simple. The success is attributed to our successes in innovation of engineering technologies, products, and solutions driven by customers' needs, as DNA is always coined by the word innovation. Next, I would like to share with you about Huawei's innovation strategy, both in the past and for the future. First, Huawei's success is laying on the foundation of following the international mainstream standards. Only in this way can we grow and lead the industry. Huawei uses the world's most advanced technologies, components, software, and platforms to keep on par with the world. Huawei works with more than 400 industry organizations. In Europe, we have joined 44 standards and industry organizations and contributed to more than 2,000 papers. Huawei collaborates with industry players to make contributions to technological standards. For example, in 5G, we work with European partners to realize global harmonization of 5G standards through 5G PPP, which defines the pace and direction of 5G basic research and promotes the development of the 5G industry. For autonomous driving and smart manufacturing, Huawei has established 5G AA with Audi, BMW, and Daimler, and has established 5G ACIA with ABB, Siemens, and Bosch. These industry alliances help foster innovations and promote cooperation between China and Europe. Around the world, Huawei plays an important role in more than 400 organizations, serving as a board member. Second, Huawei's success is thanks to our successes in innovation driven by customer needs. In 2005, I was appointed as the president for the European region responsible for expanding our business in this market. As you know, the European market is the home of many mainstream international communication companies. Price gouging will only disrupt the market. Only with leading technologies and innovation can the vendor be accepted by the leading European operators. We stand in the shoes of our customers. We help our customers to achieve commercial success, and we take an initiative in making innovation. In 2005, Huawei proposed the innovative distributed base station so as to help the European operators resolve a series of difficulties such as hard site acquisition, difficulties in deployment, high power consumption, and high O&M cost. In 2007, we also proposed single RAN base station, which integrated 2G and 3G into one piece of equipment. And now, 2G, 3G, 4G, and 5G can be all integrated into one single piece of equipment. And that single RAN base station was first commercially used in Munich, in Germany. This series of innovation will not only help the operators to drop their TCO by 30%, but also greatly reduce the network rollout cost and improve network construction speeds. The huge technological and commercial advantages of these products and solutions also become the industry standards and have helped to lead the development of the wireless industry. In 2006, we worked with Vodafone to establish our first joint innovation center with our customers, so that we stand in the shoes of the customers. We focus on the customer strategy, the product solutions, the business models, and industry development to together jointly address the challenges and difficulties and help them achieve commercial success. And by today, we have established 36 innovation centers jointly with our partners and customers, among which half of them are in Europe. Huawei's advanced products are widely accepted by the European customers, which lays a solid foundation for Huawei to become a top-notch international company. Third, Huawei's innovation is open innovation. We focus on the global technologies and resources and has established over 16 research centers and 60 labs for basic research in multiple areas around the world, including materials, heat dissipation, mathematics, chips, and optical technologies. We establish our research centers in areas that are rich in talents and resources. As you know, the industry competition is also the competition between the industry alliances, and the industry alliances need to be open and advanced. In 2016, we, together with our partners and customers, established GCC Green Computing Consortium, which is very beneficial for developing the green computing industry that is based on ARM. By far, we have more than 50 members. In order to promote digital transformation in different sectors, In February 2018, Huawei established GIO, Global Industry Organizations, that crosses multiple sectors and industries. Together, we promote digital transformation, in particular in the domains of framework, regulation, standards, and pacing, so as to grow the market. 1 week ago, in Barcelona, we had our fourth GIO roundtable, where we established and published the Industrial Digital Transformation White Paper, which was a very important milestone. As you know, Huawei has very leading technologies and products. The reason that we can make that happen is thanks to our intensity of pressure principle. Behind our technology and solutions is our continuous R&D investment. We invest not only in today's technology, but also in the future-proof technologies. In 1996, as president of pre-research at Huawei, I was responsible for the planning and incubation of technological research and new products. At that time, the company made it clear that the pre-research expense shall be at least 10% and more of the total R&D expense. And now it's 20% and even more. That means every year, Huawei invests $2 to $3 billion in the frontier and basic technological research. In 2018, Huawei's R&D expense has reached $15 billion and was ranked among top 5 in research spending globally. Now Huawei has over 80,000 R&D staff around the world, taking up 45% of our total employees. What we actually see are products, but the basic technologies behind the scenes are what keep our competitive edge sharp. The source of our competitive edge is our strong suits in mathematics, chipset design, material, heat dissipation, and so on. In 1991, Huawei was a very small company, only a dozen employees or so. Yet at that time, Huawei designed its first ASIC chip and developed chipset design office, which is today's Huawei's HiSilicon subsidiary. Currently, Kirin 990 from HiSilicon is the world's most advanced 5G mobile phone chipset. Back in 2005, as the president of HiSilicon, I have made a decision of developing chips for 3G mobile phones. Today, we see rapid development of technologies. It is thanks to our long-term investment in R&D. Huawei has more than 60 labs focusing on basic technologies, where we have more than 700 PhDs in mathematics, more than 200 PhDs in physics and chemistry. The future for Huawei's innovation is that when we look back at the past 30 years, our success is thanks to our innovation in engineering, technology, and solutions based on customers' needs, and that was Innovation 1.0. Now we see bottlenecks in theories and engineering practices. Given this situation, if there is no theoretical innovation, it will be difficult for us to make a breakthrough. Moving forward, how can we innovate? First of all, we have an assumption for the future. We believe that in the next 2 to 3 decades, our society will turn into an intelligent world, which has 3 features. And they are all things sensing, all things connected, and all things intelligent. In the intelligent world, everything can be sensed, as sensors will be able to turn the information of the physical world into the digital signals. The network will be able to connect everything so that all the data will be connected online. Thanks to big data and AI, we will realize all things intelligent. With the help of advanced ICT technologies, these 3 features will become a reality. ICT infrastructure such as 5G, IoT, and AI will be the cornerstone for our future intelligent world. Now, let's look at Europe. In June 2018, the European Commission released a report titled Investing in the Future Digital Transformation 2021 to 2027. According to the report, during the phase of Horizon Europe, the European Union will launched the Digital Europe program, focusing on 5 major areas. They are supercomputing, AI, cybersecurity and trust, advanced digital technologies, and ensuring that we can have wide application of digital technologies in our economy and society. This is a visionary plan. At the same time, we're very happy to see that Europe has proposed requirements for digital sovereignty from different dimensions, including strategies, policymaking, operations, and industry. This is a wise decision, as it can set a benchmark for the development of the digital world. In the past, we focused on the physical boundaries, but now information is able to cross all those boundaries, and it is very necessary for us to propose the requirements for the digital sovereignty. Therefore, we really much support it. On the other hand, the digital sovereignty doesn't mean building a Berlin Wall across the digital world. It is very important to see open collaboration across the world, as ICT is the digital foundation of industry.
Huawei will leverage our cutting-edge technologies and products to support Europe in building its own digital infrastructure and to help European partners maintain global competitiveness in industries where they have an advantage throughout the EU's digital and intelligent journey. Faced with an intelligent world of the future, as well as the ambitious plan of Europe, Huawei combines pragmatism and idealism in innovation, i.e., from pragmatic perspective, we research and develop products based on customer needs and our forecast of future trends. We dive deep into the roots of technology through strategic brainstorming and by adopting a trial and error methodology that allows us to follow multiple paths for research and development. At the same time, we drive development with our shared visions for the future and cutting-edge technologies. So we drive innovation with 2 wheels, pragmatism and idealism. The core of Innovation 2.0 is that in the age of Innovation 1.0, we focus on innovation in technology, engineering, products, and solutions to meet customer needs. But in Innovation 2.0, we focus on theoretical breakthroughs and technological inventions driven by our shared visions for the future. In Innovation 1.0, it is about 1 to N, i.e., based on existing theories and technologies, we innovate in technologies, engineering, products, and solutions to help our customers and partners become more competitive, increase their revenue, or reduce their costs, and enable them to achieve greater business success. In the past, Huawei made many engineering and technological innovations in wireless, optical networks, and smartphones, which have generated a great amount of business and a social value. So what is Innovation 2.0? Based on our forecasts about and the visions for the intelligent world we are entering, we will aim to overcome the bottlenecks in theories and the basic technologies that have hindered the development of ICT. So we will make theoretical breakthroughs and technological inventions, which means going from 0 to 1. The core of Innovation 2.0 are theoretical breakthroughs and technological inventions driven by our shared vision for the future. And the source of that is academia and universities. The industry proposes challenges and invests to academia and institutions. Theoretical breakthroughs and technological inventions are highly uncertain, which means that the innovation must not be one that is closed. So, Innovation 2.0 advocates open innovation and inclusive development. Universities and research institutes should work with industries to leverage global research resources and talent in collaboration. Huawei establishes this Institute of Strategic Research to make Innovation 2.0 a reality, to make sure that Huawei does not lose its direction or miss out any opportunities as it moves forward. Driven by our visions and forecasts, we will first research the future intelligent world, looking at how people will live, work, play, and stay healthy in the future. We'll identify main challenges, and then find appropriate technologies, and seize business opportunities that move us into a direction to address these challenges, and incubate new industries. We'll also make bold forecasts about the future. For example, 100 times increase in bandwidth, computing capabilities, and machine sensing capabilities in 10 years, and then plan for our technologies based on these bold forecasts. We will explore and research technologies within boundaries, which is characterized by one that is centered on information and disruptive technologies. We follow the entire information lifecycle from information generation, storage, all the way to computing, analysis, presentation, and consumption. For example, as far as light field displays, brain-like computing, DNA data storage, photonic computing, and visible light communications are concerned, in basic materials and process manufacturings, metamaterial, atomic level manufacturing, and more. We innovate with existing technologies while simultaneously seeking innovations in disruptive technologies. Let me take another example. There are more types of data, and we are facing the limits of Moore's law. So one computing architecture supporting all kinds of computing will be very costly. Therefore, heterogeneous computing is one of the paths we can take to push the boundary of Moore's law. Many are investing in quantum computing, but apart from that, photonic computing is also an important area. So Huawei is investing in research on photonic computing. We leverage the advantages of photonic technologies to perform analog computing, such as in AI, 80% of computing workloads are related to matrix transformation and optimization. CPUs alone cannot handle these tasks efficiently. But if we take photonic computing, the efficiency can be improved by hundreds of times. This is because photonic technologies has natural advantages in diffraction, diffusion, and interference. Photonic computing can eliminate the need for large-scale digital to analog conversion. So they have these inherent advantages. Imagine this. As more computing workloads be related to AI, 80% of computing may be performed better in a new computing architecture with hundreds time improvement in efficiency, then the Moore's law limit will, to a large extent, be overcome. We're also working on DNA storage. 1 kilogram of DNA can accommodate most data in the world today. Let me talk about more specifics on Innovation 2.0, which is based on university collaboration and technology investment. In our world, a lot of development needs are still unaddressed, and the global issues continue to emerge one after another. We need to pull together global talent and resources and strengthen fundamental research. The industry's participation not only helps universities and institutes to accelerate the commercialization of their research results, but also expose the industry's challenges and requirements to the scientists, which is key to scientific research. That is why hundreds of professors and universities are very happy to work jointly with Huawei. Huawei supports universities and research institutes, build our own labs, and adopt multiple paths for Innovation 2.0. We bring in together industry, academia, and venture capital in this joint innovation and share innovation results with all humanity and industries in lighting up the world and also lighting up Huawei. Let me talk about Huawei's collaboration with European universities and research institutes. We focus on both the major challenges and innovations in future-oriented basic theories, in 5G algorithms, basic AI theories, and processor architecture. For example, in France, Huawei is working with Eurocom, INT, TPT, and etc. build strategic cooperation in areas such as network algorithms, AI, and sensor applications. We work with two Fields Medal winners to explore the basic theories and algorithms for advanced wireless technology. We work with Eurocom on massive MIMO, which is one of the key 5G technologies, and it has been certified by 3GPP and have become a global standard of 5G. We have sponsored hundreds of professors in related researches. Huawei also set up subjects to cultivate talent together with universities. We funded more than 300 professors, 73 PhD students, offer over 600 internship opportunities, and delivering training and lectures to nearly 2,000 students. A large number of digital talent is needed for building a digital Europe. Huawei adopts multiple ways to train ICT talent for Europe. For the ICT sector, we have established the Huawei Developer Program, providing $1.5 billion to support 5 million developers worldwide over the next 5 years. In the consuming sector, for the application developers, we have a budget of $1 billion Shining Star program. In the next 3 years, we will benefit tens of millions of app developers, helping these people to create apps for consumers. Facing the university students, we are working with more than 50 universities and have established ICT Academy to spread pragmatic and cutting-edge ICT technologies and training ICT talent for the industries. Since 2011, Huawei, in countries like UK, France, Germany, Spain, Romania, and Poland, we have established Huawei ICT Academy with universities and have trained over 100 ICT lecturers, which benefits about 1,500 students every year. For those young students in a wider scope, in over 100 countries around the world, Huawei has rolled out its Seeds for the Future program to encourage more young people to join in this digital initiative. In 2011, this was launched in Europe and has since benefited 1,347 students from 31 European countries. Moving forward, we plan to scale up the program to reach 3,000 European students, including 1,000 students who will take part in a China tour of this Seeds for the Future program, and recruit 1,000 students to work as interns at Huawei to learn about business practices, and hired over 1,000 students to become Huawei employees. Digital technology is inclusive, and it is reshaping our world. It plays a vital role in promoting national economic growth and boosting social welfare and happiness. It also helps achieve the UN's SDGs, enabling challenges around the world to be addressed, including poverty, inequality, climate change, environmental degradation, economic issues, and healthcare problems. Our goal is to not leave anyone behind in this digital world. For this end, Huawei has launched Tech for All, which is a long-term inclusiveness initiative. It means we can have equal access and use information and communication technology. Tech for All is Huawei's long-term initiative. Based on Huawei's direction, in areas like health, environment, and etc., and healthcare, such as in terms of healthcare, Huawei is partnering with IIS Aragon and a DIVE to develop Track AI, a new medical tool that can detect visual impairment in young children. With Track AI, trained parents can be like doctors who can analyze data quickly, simply, and more effectively of the signs of eye diseases, providing 19 million visually impaired children around the world with these benefits. In environmental protection, Huawei is working with Rainforest Connection to convert a large number of used Huawei mobile phones into solar-powered devices that will monitor the rainforests. They will become ears of the rainforests. Through AI, they are listening to and identify the sounds of trucks and electric saws that are illegally felling trees, helping organizations to protect the planet. Next year, another 6,000 square kilometers of tropical rainforests in even more countries will benefit from these efforts. Technology is a shared wealth for all human beings. It knows no national borders. This multilateral collaboration advocated by Europe that stems from the creation of shared value and joint rulemaking are the assets of the whole world, and is also the way in which Huawei create value for Europe and the whole world. Huawei will leverage its leading technologies and become a key enabler to the digital transformation of Europe to drive European digital adoption. Also will help European businesses stay ahead as they embrace digital and AI, and to help Europe build its own digital infrastructure.
设施
Will also help to build the digital infrastructure for Europe. Huawei has contributed greatly to 3GPP and GSMA and has boosted healthy development in the communications industry. Going forward, we are confident that Huawei, working with partners in Europe and other parts of the world, will grow the digital sector and enable all industries to thrive in the digital and AI era. At Huawei, our vision is to bring digital to every person, home, and organization for a fully connected, intelligent world. We believe only collaboration will get us there. Thank you again for coming to the 7th Annual Huawei European Innovation Day.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you, Mr. Zhu, for a fascinating insight into the future intelligent world and how your strategy and vision can help Europe to maintain its competitive edge. We are delighted to be holding this year's event here in France, a country renowned worldwide for its scientific research excellence, which is driving innovation and digital transformation in Europe. So how do we create a Europe that is fit for the digital age? Well, to help us answer that very big question, we're delighted to be joined by Josiane Cuttejar. She's a member of the European Parliament and also a member of the ITRE committee, and I'd like to invite her to the stage.
Good morning, everyone. I look around me and see conflicts, mistreatments leading to increasing rates of migration, trade wars, cyber warfare, a climate that is changing and a planet that is dying. It might be frightening, I admit. And being afraid does tend to make us more protective and defensive, more closed and more wary. Instead of opening doors, some choose to close them down. I am not one to look and do nothing. Europe especially should not look and do nothing. If we are proud of what makes us, our identity, our European way of life, we ought to embrace our values of peace, of dialogue, and of sustainability. There is a place for Europe in this new world which yearns for Europe to take the lead once again in bringing about balance and order through its own values. A little while ago, in fact, 2,500 years ago, in his Art of War, Sun Tzu said that in the midst of chaos, there is also opportunity. It is only my first mandate in the European Parliament, but I immediately pursued digital policy, technology, and research, because as I see it, a process of digitalization within our borders and beyond, and precisely European digital sovereignty, is our strongest tool for us to carve a space in the modern world. There might be chaos now. As Sun Tzu told us, however, there is also opportunity. The fourth industrial revolution does present us with a wealth of opportunities. Sovereignty means knowledge. It also means authority and leadership. If we want to lead, we must learn and therefore boost literacy. Where we are lagging behind, we must improve. And where we have differences with our main global partners, we must indulge in conversation. I do envisage Europe, which is no longer a follower, but a prime mover. To quit following and start leading does not mean we shun concerns or fail to acknowledge all the pace we have lost to others. It means that we have to find the right balance between openness and protection. The routes towards digital sovereignty are plenty. One of them may be to fight competitors, to believe in the birth of European tech giants. But it is not difficult to sense how impractical this may sound, when considering that while we are still taking off, others got used to flying. I say this notwithstanding the fact that our concept of giant has changed. It is no longer only about the size of the workforce, but more about the scope and breadth of its intangible patrimony, which means knowledge and know-how. A practical way to become sovereign is precisely to regulate. Regulation, a word which sends shivers down the spines of business stakeholders around the world. They fear that policymakers, distant and detached from laboratories, computers, and engines, will legislate on technology, slowing its development and stifling innovation. That is not regulation, but restriction. The way forward is smart regulation, promoting values, setting standards, emphasizing due diligence, and awarding top quality makers and providers. Smart and sensible regulation brings clarity, safeguards our values, and protects the vulnerable. In this case, the users, the workers, the children, or the customers. Don't take regulation as a means to control extra-European companies. Consider it as an invitation to do business in Europe at the highest of standards. Been there and done that. By means of the General Data Protection Regulation, Europe set a high standard of behavior and operations by any business stakeholder and authority across the globe, and not just within its borders. Despite initial apprehension, GDPR helps us understand the extent to which we value our privacy and the safety of our own personal data, which is increasingly evolving into an invaluable personal asset. Not only, GDPR outlines what us Europeans understand by a safe online space, a space where individual rights and freedoms are protected. We led by example. We set an important precedent of smart regulation. And A precedent I expect to also see replicated in the much anticipated proposal for the regulation of artificial intelligence as promised by the new Commission in its first 100 days. Regulation can be smart and strong, but meaningless in the absence of effective governance. And sovereignty, meaningful and acknowledged authority, lies where public authorities may regulate and set norms promoting our values, setting standards, enabling and facilitating investment in a digital environment that works for Europe and take it forward, which in itself requires us to nurture the best talent in the digital world here among us. Made in Europe should not remain a mirage, as to be sovereign also means to own, to make, and to be able to provide for oneself. All of this is indeed possible. In a global village like the world is today, it is only possible with the right kind of partnerships. Recent events, some of them still ongoing, continue to demonstrate this very clearly. Partnerships, by their very nature, require open collaboration between equals, between partners. Like any strong relationship, they rest on dialogue, on transparency, and on reciprocity. All partners must make themselves available and accessible. As we said, going forward requires nurturing the greatest digital minds, digital champions. But this is impossible when large markets remain difficult to access for digital companies from elsewhere. European digital sovereignty will remain a mirage, if not a mere expression, unless Europe is able to promote its digital champions in third countries. European digital sovereignty will remain a mirage if European digital champions do not enjoy the same treatment and the same conditions in large foreign markets that enterprises from third countries enjoy when they are welcomed in the European market. Reciprocity is key. It is key to make a conducive business environment. We need to speak the same language on accountability, the same language on transparency and good governance, and the same language on the protection of intellectual property rights. In practice, reciprocity will depend on our willingness to collaborate together. Reciprocity is not simplistic, but simple if we choose transparency over tariffs, befriending over banning, and synergy over sanctions. I have no doubt that collaboration is possible between global leaders in a digital world by means of bilateral investment treaties set on these terms. After having stopped war and ensured long-lasting peace, after having ensured the continent develops into a beacon of values and rights, after having grown in wealth and prosperity, Europe has yet another call, this time to take the lead in revitalizing a dying planet, cleaning our means of production and turning our industry into a powerful tool for us to keep on growing sustainably. Succeeding in this endeavor will rest on succeeding in our quest to become sovereign, the digital sovereign. Thank you.
Thank you, Josiane. Well, we know that companies have an impact on the economies in which they operate that goes well beyond their direct impact on suppliers and consumers. And the consultancy Oxford Economics is expert in measuring these effects. And today we're delighted to release the Huawei European Economic Impact Report in partnership with Oxford Economics. Now, as well as measuring the economic contribution which Huawei has made to the European economy, the report also investigates how Huawei's research and development has enhanced the productive potential of Europe. Well, to give us more details on the report, please welcome to the stage Peter Collings. He's Director of Economic Impact Consulting, Europe and the Middle East at Oxford Economics.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today. So, as that very kind introduction said, we have been assessing the economic impact of Huawei in Europe. And before going into some of the findings that came out of that 3-month piece of research, I think it's worth just sort of highlighting how do we assess the impact of a company like Huawei. So, at its core, obviously we have Huawei itself. And when we think about economic contribution, economic impact, economic footprint, however you want to describe it, really there are 3 things that we're looking at. First was how many people does a company employ? How many people are directly involved in that company's operations? Also, in return for that involvement, they are paid wages, and in return for their efforts, the company will make profits. And those two are quite important when we tend together, wages and profits, because together they equal Huawei's what's called gross value added. It's a very dry economist term. But when you take all of the company's gross value addeds together, and what you end up with is what is known as gross domestic product, or GDP, which is the most common measure for how you measure the size of an economy. And then the final metric we use to explore the size of a company's contribution to an economy is to, apologies for that, is to look at the tax revenues that are generated on the back of its activities. Okay, so when we think about Huawei itself, what we do is we have the direct contribution, so that's the company's own operations. But that is not the end of how the company interacts with Europe's economy. In order to produce its goods, produce its services, it is relying on suppliers across the entire European continent. And all of these purchases are supporting employment in its suppliers, they're supporting wages, they're supporting profits, and they're supporting tax revenues. They're also supporting further spending throughout supply chains. And these supply chains will cross from one country to another, spreading across the entire continent, supporting employment, contributions to the economy, and tax revenues. The third channel by which we look to explore a company's economic contribution is through what we call the induced impact. Now, this is slightly different to a supply chain, but what it acknowledges is the fact that people are employed by Huawei, and people are employed within its supply chains. And in return for this employment, they are receiving wages, and they're spending these wages on sort of everyday consumer goods and services. And each one of these purchases will support employment, will support profits again, and wages. You can see a theme developing here. It's supporting contributions to GDP and tax revenue, again, spreading out throughout Europe and throughout a myriad of different industries and different businesses. And it's all coming back to Huawei's presence in Europe. And when we take those 3 channels together, so you have the direct contribution, which is Huawei itself, you have its indirect supply chain, and you have its induced sort of consumer spending impact, taken together, that is the entire economic footprint of Huawei on the European continent. But as you're attending here today, the impact that Huawei has stretches far beyond its own sort of revenues, its own employment, its supply chain, the consumer spending that it supports. looking at the R&D that is conducted, the innovation is really pushing the productive potential of the European economy and economies globally. And so this is what we refer to as the sort of catalytic impact, and really that's what it supports long-term economic growth throughout countries across the world. So thinking about the actual findings from the study. So if we start with the direct contribution, and we're looking at 2018, what we find is that Huawei directly contributed 2.5 billion euro to Europe's GDP that year. And that's more than double the contribution it made 5 years previously. In making that contribution, it employed over 13,300 people. And again, it's significantly up on the 2014 value. And it and its employees paid more than 1.8 billion euro in tax payments to governments. And again, significantly higher than in 2014. But as I said, the contribution that Huawei makes doesn't just stop at its own activities, it spreads across the entire economy, in particular through its supply chain and through its global purchases of goods and services from European firms. And we find that in 2018, the company spent around 6.6 billion euro with firms across Europe. That's significantly up on 2014. And some 7 countries received more than €500 million of spending in 2018. So it's spread throughout the economy, throughout the continent as well. And this spending is calculated to have supported a contribution of 5.4 billion to European GDP, some 80,300 jobs, and another 1.8 billion in tax revenues. So this is all coming from Huawei's supply chains throughout Europe. And those contributions are spread throughout the economy, both spatially and also in terms of the type of businesses that are being supported. So what we see is, of that 5.4 billion euro contribution, around 2.5 billion was located in manufacturing firms. Another 1 billion was in sort of the wholesale and retail sector. A further 700 million euro was accounted for by business service firms. And then the remaining 3/4 was spread between financial services, transport services, other information and communications companies, and then the rest of the economy. So you can see there's a broad spread of economic impact. So it's not a very narrow supply chain, it's spread across the entire economy. And then the final channel of impact that we explore, as I mentioned, was the induced impact. So this is the spending of the people who are employed by Huawei or within its supply chain. So as we've seen, there's 13,000 people are employed directly by Huawei, and there's another 80,000 employed within its supply chain. So together, all of these people spending their wages can be attributable back to Huawei's presence. And what we find is that the spending of these 93,000 people supported a 4.9 billion contribution to Europe's GDP in 2018, another 76,000 jobs throughout the continent, and a further 2 billion in tax payments. This is all just from the spending of Huawei's employees and those people who are employed in its supply chain. So when we take all of those channels of impact together, so you have the direct contribution, the indirect, and the induced contribution, we end up with a total economic footprint that Huawei has on the economy. And in 2018, we find that 2.5 billion direct contribution, the 5.4 billion indirect contribution, and the 4.9 billion euro induced contribution means that the total contribution to the economy was 12.8 billion in 2018. And this has grown significantly since 2014, and we calculate it's around about 19% growth annually when we account for inflation as well. And that impact is spread throughout Europe. So there's 7 economies received benefits accruing more than €500 million contribution to GDP as a result of Huawei's presence. And in employment terms, obviously, we've seen there's 13,000 people employed directly within Huawei's European entities, another 80,000 in the supply chain, and another 76,000 within the consumer spending impact of Huawei. So total employment, so total jobs that are attributable to Huawei, is just under 170,000 in 2018. And again, this has grown significantly year on year. So since 2014, we see the average annual growth rate of being 13%. And in terms of tax revenues, when we look across the three channels of impact, we estimate that a total of 5.6 billion euro was generated for governments across Europe as a result of the activity and employment that Huawei supported in 2018. And again, this has grown strongly since 2014 at a rate of 17% annually. And just to put that 5.6 billion figure into context, Eurostat, this European Statistical Agency, says that the average salary for a professional in healthcare or education across Europe is around 40,000 euros annually. So that 5.6 billion euro figure is the equivalent of 136,000 salaries at 40,000 euros, which is the average for education and healthcare. But as I mentioned, obviously, Huawei's contribution to the economy extends far beyond the pure economics that I've just presented in the supply chain. The activities that it engages in research, its collaboration with industry, and its training of students and furthering their ICT skills delivers far greater catalytic and innovative benefits for the economy, that stretch far beyond the numbers I presented here. And these not only increase the productive potential of the European economy, they're also helping the European Commission to fulfill and complete the digital single market and also to deliver technical sovereignty for Europe. Now, before I finish, and I do encourage you all to read the full report, which will be available at Huawei's website and on Oxford Economics' website, which has far greater detail in terms of the country-level impacts. But I'd just like to leave you with a summary video which summarizes the results of the study.
Europe's values of openness, innovation, and the rule of law make it a powerhouse in mobile communications. Huawei shares these values. Huawei makes a massive contribution throughout Europe. In 2018 alone, Huawei spent 6.6 billion euros with European suppliers, up 88% on 2014. In real terms, its spending has a huge impact on the European economy. Huawei's total contribution to European GDP in 2018 equals 12.8 billion euros. Average annual GDP growth equals 19% in real terms. Of this total, its biggest GDP contributions were in UK, 3 billion euros, Germany, 2.8 billion euros, France, 1.2 billion euros, Switzerland, 0.9 billion euros, Italy, 0.8 billion euros. Huawei also supported a total of 169,700 jobs across Europe. Average annual jobs growth equals 13%. Huawei is also investing in Europe's future through research and development and training. It now has 23 research sites in the EU, 2,400 plus R&D staff, 230 technical collaborations. Huawei's Seeds for the Future program has supported more than 1,300 students from 31 European countries. And its European Student Challenge offers scholarships to undergraduates who come up with brilliant new ideas. Europe is Huawei's centre of expertise. Thanks to our global value chain, we deliver innovation to the EU while making EU expertise available to the world.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter, and I'd just like to echo his words. Please do take a look at the report. It contains some fascinating detail, and you can download it from the Huawei website or the Oxford Economics website. We're now going to take a short break. Could I please ask you all to be back in 15 minutes? That's at 10:30. And please do leave your headsets on your seats. Don't wander off with them into the foyer. Thank you very much.